cigars, cigarettes, weed, vape, and those nicotine, what do you call it? Not what is it called?
Zen.
Zen, but they call it something.
The nicotine pouches.
The nicotine. What of those 5 things, if you were to say, is there one that's less risky than other? What would you say of the 5?
Okay, so we've got nicotine pouches.
Yes.
Vape.
Yep.
Marijuana.
Yep.
Cigarettes and cigars.
Yes.
I think cigars are the least risky.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of vaping. There are oils in the vape that have been linked to certain types of pneumonia in the lungs, and I just think vaping is gross and people shouldn't be doing it. Cigarettes are obviously horrible because the tobacco is full of pesticides and other additives. The marijuana is linked to all sorts of hormonal issues in humans. It lowers androgens in men. I think that for most people, marijuana is a very clearly a net negative thing in their life. And then the pouches, I mean, look, nicotine occurs naturally in the human body, but they're quite addictive. And I think that they're sort of the next epidemic of people kind of messing with their neurotransmitters and these signaling molecules in the human body in a not great way. And you asked me for the best one. I'm not saying cigars are great, but if you actually have a high quality tobacco leaf without a lot of pesticides, I think it's the most benign of anything in there. I don't smoke. I don't even smoke cigars. But if you want to have a cigar every once in a while, it's a different actual entity than a cigarette from Marlboro.
Got it. So in other words, listen, that's not an endorsement of smoking cigars.
No.
It's just the least of the 5.
It's probably the least harmful of the 5.
What was the worst you had of the 5?
I would say the worst is probably cigarettes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting to see where that's at. You know, a lot of people, you'll hear people talking about nicotine is good for you. Yeah, we're in D.C. and we're outside, and I see this guy always. You remember this guy?
Yeah.
I see this one guy always in the morning and at night, Paul. He's in a corner smoking cigarettes. Okay, so I told him, I said, "Hey, John." Both guys' name is John. I say, "Hey, I see you in the morning and in the afternoon. At night, you have your cigarette appointment." He says, nicotine is actually good for you. You know what they found out? Here's what he told me. He says, they found that in front of my 2 boys, my 12 and 11-year-old son. He says, they found that people that smoke cigarettes actually didn't get the COVID virus as much as people who didn't smoke. I said, so are you telling me smoking cigarettes is good for you? He says, no. All I'm telling you is the fact that if you smoke cigarettes, you didn't get COVID as much as people that, were smoking cigarettes. Then he says, what I am saying is that nicotine is good for you. And you'll hear this argument being made by a lot of different people. What's your argument to that?
Like I said, nicotine occurs naturally in the human body. It is a neurotransmitter. And I think that there may be some studies that suggest that it affects the brain in a positive way, but there's always other side effects, right? So when you introduce exogenous nicotine, when you introduce excess nicotine, akin to what happens with marijuana, because cannabinoids occur naturally in the human body, there are other downstream effects in the human body. And I think that to say that nicotine supplementation or these pouches is net positive, that's a stretch. Yes, it might make you more alert. Yes, there may be some data for nicotine with regard to dementia, but I think it's going to have other negative effects in the human body. It can raise blood pressure, increase your heart rate. It's not a benign substance to be just using without caution. And I think that these pouches are quite addictive. And let's be honest, they're used as a drug. There's no question. They're
used as a drug.
They're absolutely used as a drug. These are drugs.
Okay. All right. This one upsets you a little bit. You got a little bit angry, Paul. I don't want to upset you while we're here together.
Hey, guys. I am Paul Saladino. You can find me on Minect. If you have any questions about diet, health, recovering from chronic illness or autoimmune disease, I'm excited to connect with you guys all there, and I'll see you in there.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.